This show is being brought to you by Grandpa Ray Outdoors. John O'Brien is the CEO of Grandpa Ray Outdoors, and he's been an agronomist for over 29 years. He's not just an agronomist, he is an educator. So if you go to Grandpa Ray Outdoors on the web, you're going to see that John is sharing his knowledge with anybody that wants to listen and become a smarter food plotter. He does have a special group called Team Grow, and you can join that and get the inside scoop with John. He does private seminars and shares private information. So check out Team Grow and Grandpa Ray Outdoors for the finest information on the web. Oh, yes, he has a full line of seeds that are as good as, if not better than, any other seed company in existence today. Let's Talk Deer. Let's Talk Deer is supported and sponsored by Grandpa Ray Outdoors. We receive funds from Grandpa Ray Outdoors for airing this show.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Deer with your host, Bruce Hutchin. And I'm joined by Eric Steinmetz, the creator of Foreplay Turkey Call. And now the new owner is Brian Benolken, and he is the owner of Foreplay Turkey Calls. And Brian reached out to me as a member of POMA, and that stands for Professional Outdoor Media Association, this week. And I said, heck yeah, I'd love to promote your company and talk about the product. So Eric, we have Eric on audio, and we have Brian on audio and video. So welcome to the show, gentlemen, and I'm excited to hear about it. Let's start with you, Eric, and why did you create Foreplay Turkey Call?
Okay, well, it was kind of like I build my own calls to begin with, and when you're out turkey hunting in the woods, a lot of times you take a bunch of different calls with you because you don't know what the turkeys are going to respond to on any given day. Sometimes they like a different frequency or whatever, so you're carrying a bunch of calls with you to try to get their attention. So one day it actually took me a while to think of this, and I thought, wouldn't it be neat if you could actually take a box call and get more sounds out of it than you can. So what I had done is instead of having a bottom on the box, I put rails on both sides of the box. And then my next question to myself is, how am I going to keep this all in one piece without taking the paddle off, reattaching it? So what I had done is I had put a saddle in the end of the box call, and I put a wheel in there. So the paddle is mounted to a wheel. So when you want to go from one side to the other side, all you have to do is flip it over, and you got different frequencies made by different species of woods, 4 different species of woods. So you have different tones, and sometimes that's exactly what you need to pique their interest.
Now, do you put resin on those rails? Is that how you do it?
No. What I do is basically when we make these, we have a bevel on these rails that needs to be there. But I think with all our calls, we'll scuff the surface of the back side of the paddle up a little bit, scuff the rails just a little bit, just to give a little bit of grab, and then we'll use chalk on there. So the chalk creates more of a friction in there, and that's what creates your sound.
Brian, can you just make some sound with one of those calls?
Yeah, one of the things that Eric was too modest to say about his call, his invention, was we do have 4 different rails. So we have 4 different species of walnut, red cedar, sassafras, and poplar. So inherently they all have a different tone. But what got Eric his patent was not the ability to change sides, but rather the ability of the rail of the paddle, as you can see here, Bruce, how it can travel along front to back on each rail, so you can get a different tone front to back. So instead of 4 different tones, we have multiple different tones. So I can give you an example: the sassafras, the cedar, the poplar. And the walnut's usually the highest one, so if you're using it for a locator, or if it's real windy out and you need a sound to cut through the wind, it'll cut real nice. It'll purr. So Eric did a heck of a job inventing it.
No, Eric, how did you come up with this? I mean, it's, I've held some turkey calls, and I've been with a couple of guys just a few times turkey hunting. That's the extent of my experience. But it seems they have those slates, and they use a striker, and they do that. And then they have box calls, but I've never seen a call shaped like this.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a bad call out there. And I'm not saying that the call that I came up with is the best call in the world. What I'm saying is the call that I came out with has multiple functions, which it will help you take some of the calls that you're taking out in the woods with you. One thing that a lot of people might think, like I do, I've entered calls in the call competitions and stuff. I've got, medals from the National Wild Turkey Federation and whatnot. And, but people are used to, when you play a box call, a lot of people are used to hearing a lower tone, and they're like, this sounds higher than the normal box call. And what I tell them is that it's supposed to be. The reason, if you were going to take different calls, if you were going to take a box call out in the woods with you, you're not going to take another box call because it's going to sound too similar. My whole idea is you could take a box call out in the woods with you. If it works, that's great. But if it doesn't, what are you going to do? Especially come mid-season when these birds have heard everything, they get pressured, and they don't respond. That's when you got to try to change it up. And what I've done with this is I have a higher pitch, which it works very well for me. I've killed multiple birds with it. We've had people send pictures of their birds in from last spring. And so really the ultimate judge with the call is the bird itself. I mean, because you don't know what they're going to respond to. So it's a proven call. I've been using it now. I came out with the patent in 2016, and I've been using it ever since. And I've killed a bird every year since I've ever, except for 1 year where my gun didn't fire, which I'm really upset about, but but it happens. So it works. It really works. And I think Brian later on will show you something that I had discovered on accident. And it mimics a Jake cluck. And I've actually called 3 birds in with this at one time, and that's actually the bird I did not get because my gun misfired. But
yeah, so what you do, Bruce, is, and it's really nice because you can do it with one hand. You can see me on camera here. You put your thumb in the cavity on the back and you pull it backwards. You get that nice crisp cluck. So yeah, we have a video of Eric doing that 2 years ago. Had 3 real nice gobblers come in. We had the camera on the end of his gun. The suspense is building. The bird's right there, and you hear click, and the gun jams. And we can't use the video because of all swearing and carrying
Foul language.
It worked. It got the bird there. If it wasn't for the mechanical function or malfunction of the gun, he had the bird. But it's a really neat ability. When we show them at the shows and we'll show how they purr and how they cut, everyone's impressed. But as soon as we show them how it'll cluck like that, that real nice Jake cluck, that usually is what kind of seals the deal for the sale. So it's our challenge with the product is honestly, it's so new and different that unless you're at a show and you have it in your hand, it's hard to appreciate it.
Now, Eric, how do turkeys hear? Do you know how turkeys hear?
I mean, they hear really well. They honestly, they can pick up something from a great distance. And their eyesight is also just as good, if not even better than their hearing. The one thing they lack is a sense of smell. They can't smell. So if they could smell, I don't think you would be able to kill one. As far as my experience in turkey woods is that they are not easy to hunt. And if they were, it wouldn't be fun. When you start killing birds with something like that you created, and other people can do the same. It's a thrill on its own. I can't even imagine how well they can hear because.
This is Bruce Hutchin with a special message about my relationship with Burner.com. Burner HD is a non-lethal pistol that's available now on the web at Burner.com. If you go to the web and use my promo code AON 2020, that's promo code AON 2020, you're going to get a 10% discount on all Burner product. So again, Let's Talk Deer has a discount, promo code AON 2020. That's promo code AON 2020. Burner product. Go check them out. They're great.
I will give you an example of of their eyesight. It was raining the one day, and I was hunting over a field, and there was woods behind me, and there just happened to be a tree stand there for somebody that was deer hunting. And I figured I'm getting out of the rain. I put a decoy behind me, and it wasn't that far back in the woods, but I couldn't see it anymore. And I made a couple calls. I actually saw a black dot at the end of the field, and next thing you know, this bird comes running through the field, and it was probably, I bet you, a good 200 yards out, and I ended up calling a hen, and this hen went right by me and went right to that decoy and just started beating the heck out of that decoy, and I was very impressed. And from that time on, I know that bird heard my call, and I know it saw my decoy. So it was their eyesight and their hearing is incredible.
And I'm thinking of the frequencies because let's just go either whitetail hunting or elk hunting, and I carry numerous calls because I want to change up my voice because people that don't have multiple calls have the same voice, and then if you're in the same area with the same deer or elk, they get used to your voice, and once they see you or smell you, you're cooked. And that's the thing I'm looking at this call, because you have, to my understanding, an unlimited voice ability.
Well,
and frequency.
And also one thing my whole life I've used box calls. I killed one with a slate, but I, for some reason, never got the hang of using a mouth call. And some of these guys are really good with the mouth calls. But what I will say is that if you would play different sides, you give it a little bit of time. It sounds like multiple birds, but let's say you're really good at a mouth call. You put that mouth call in your mouth and start using that, and then use this. Then you got multiple birds there, and then that gobbler's going to think, oh my God, maybe I'll leave this hen because there's more hens over here. So there's different scenarios with every hunt, and I actually I killed one 3 years ago. I didn't even know that bird was there. I set up, and I set up close to where I knew there were some birds roosting, and I had 4 birds roosting behind me. Now, I heard hens with them, and by the time it was their turn to fly down, every time I would make a call, they would gobble. But when they got off the roost, they went in with the hens. I kept at it. Next thing you know, I hear this gobble way out, and I'm thinking, this bird will never come. That's the bird I killed, and he came into this call, and also, like I said, it can also, when you have a higher pitch like that, it can also represent a younger hen. It's that difference, could be the factor of actually harvesting a bird or not. You're taking a chance, but it's a good chance.
If somebody wants to get a hold of these, Brian, where do they have to go to purchase one?
Well, we have our own website, which is 4playturkeycall.com. So the number 4 and then playturkeycall.com. Our phone number here, we can call. A lot of guys this past season called and ordered. Our area code is 610-984-4099. We take all major credit cards. I had a couple guys send me checks, holdovers from bygone era, I guess. But, we take those as well. We are also on Amazon, Handmade, and on Walmart.com. So there's multiple places to get them. We are purely e-commerce right now. That will probably change in the near future. We're trying to get it rolling out to the people, getting it in front of the people. And it's been a fun process. It's you and I had spoken earlier. We did the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg in February, and they get 250,000 people over 9 days, and it's a sight to behold. It's a huge show, and we did great. I mean, we really did well. We had guys coming up. Like I mentioned earlier, our biggest challenge is we'll have them sitting on a table like this, and guys will walk by and think, well, it's a box call, and there's multiple places you can buy box calls at the show, and keep walking. And we had one gentleman hold it, and Eric was standing on the other side of the table playing it, and Eric went like this and flipped it over, and the guy goes, "What did you just do?" So here he had it in his hand, and he didn't realize it was a 4-sided box call. So that's kind of the challenge of getting out word and educating the consumer as to what it is. First of all, that's where the name comes from. It's a kind of a little bit of a double entendre. We have foreplaying surface, so the foreplay, and it's also the female calling the male in. So I love the name. So a lot of people seem to like the name as well. But it's a call that you can get on our website. You can call, or Amazon, or Walmart.
And I think one of the biggest highlights of that whole show is that we sparked Roland Martin's interest. He was at the show, and that was a thrill. I mean, he was, even though he's a big time fisherman, he's also, people don't know that he grew up turkey hunting, and he loved the product. And that's actually on our webpage, meeting Roland Martin, and it was an honor.
Yeah,
It's
Bruce,
a matter
there's lots. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's a matter of exposure, and that's one thing. In being in Poma, what you did, you reached out to a bunch of people, and you told me you had a number of phone calls. And if you haven't reached out to Kevin Paulson yet, Hunting Life, he's in. You can find him on the web. He lives
We're
in
talking
Nebraska.
today at 3:00, Bruce.
Well, he's got a large reach. I've got a reach, but his reach is larger than mine. And then the other person, I would say, and here's a shout out for Kevin Hunting Life, and Kevin has a new operation going that I'm sure he's going to talk to you about about his hive. But also Chris Savina, American Outdoor News.
We're in his latest issue this month.
Are you in? Are you in? Did you get in that? Because I haven't.
Yeah. Well, in fact, when I heard about Poma,
Right.
Chris and I had hooked up with Chris. I think it was probably a Facebook. I'm sure that's where I learned about him, and I called him
Sure.
up. He's a great guy, and he really liked the product. We actually there's an ad in there about the call, but then there's also a great story in there about Eric and how he invented it.
Great.
How he came up with the idea and everything. So if people are interested, his publication, Chris's, American Outdoor News is a fantastic publication. Yeah, so we're in there this fall. So pretty excited about that.
And give a shout out. All you do is go to AmericanOutdoorNews.com, and it's free. I'm a dealer, national dealer for Burner.com, which is a non-lethal weapon, and I have a full page ad in there in the fall also. And Chris is a great guy. And if you're in the business, folks, and have a product, you need to get a hold of Chris Savina at American Outdoor News. So there's a plug for Kevin and Chris, both great guys. Both great guys.
The reception that I've had from everybody at Poma, whatever plug that I can do, which I'm not sure exactly, how much weight that'll carry, is, I'm more than happy to do. They've been fantastic about reaching out. And I had John Phillips. Do you know John?
No,
Called me up yesterday from Alabama. He talked to me for about an hour, just about what to do, about how to handle it, how to move forward. And, that was just, it was fantastic. I never really expected the response I got. So it's been nice.
I do know Brenda Valentine, the queen of National Wild Turkey Federation. So
I had the opportunity to meet her at Nashville, not last year, but the year before. We had a very nice lady.
Amazing lady, and she's really the first lady of hunting in the country, and just an amazing lady, and she's done so much for the National Wild Turkey Federation. So if you're not a member of that, I know we're giving a lot of plugs, but these are shameless. So it's my show. I can do whatever I want. But
Right.
become a member. Become a member of National Wild Turkey Federation.
I actually have 2 calls right now that are, like I said, I like to make different stuff. They were prototypes of something that could possibly happen at some point. If you don't make things and you have trial and error or whatever until you come up with a product that you really want, these products are basically prototypes. And the National Wild Turkey Federation, with this COVID-19, was having some problems financially, and they had come up with a thing called it was donating calls to raise money. I think it's called Call for All or whatever, and the auction's actually going on now. And you can bid on calls. I have 2 calls in there on auction, and there's probably a couple hundred from some of the best call makers in there. If you're looking for something custom, there's a lot of crafty people out there, but I'm dialing in on stuff that we can use in our company to actually, take in the field. We can mass produce, but also we want to be able to do everything right. We want everybody that gets one of these in their hands to be able to operate it correctly. We want it to call to sound good, and if it doesn't, it gets thrown in the burn pile because we're not going to sell something out there that we don't feel is adequate. Everything has to go through a test, and if it doesn't pass what we feel is good, it doesn't get sold or used.
And what's the price point of one of these calls?
We're doing, I usually have a sale going on, but we're doing our manufactured suggested retail price, I guess you would call it, is $125. We'll do show or sales at the shows. So if anyone happens to be around in February, and God willing, without, hopefully the COVID doesn't take out the shows going forward, we're going to be at the Great American Outdoor Show again. We usually run a good sale there. We're going to be at the Early Bird Sports Expo in Bloomsburg, PA. And we're hoping to get to the national show in the National Wild Turkey Federation National Show in Nashville this year. We'll see how that works out. I have not got word yet about that. But we'll also do occasionally, like right now, there's a summer sale going on. So there's opportunities to get it for less than the $125 sticker. But I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but it's a really well-made call. The body is cut out on a CNC, so our tolerances and repeatability of size are spot on. Eric mentions how inherently with call making, you put calls together and some of them just don't sound right.